Pope Leo XIV celebrates his first Mass the day after becoming the first American to lead the Catholic Church. He returned to the Sistine Chapel to pray with the cardinals who elected him. Leo said his election is both a cross to bear and a blessing.
I invite you to recognize the marvels that the Lord has done, the blessings that the Lord continues to pour out upon all of us. Through the ministry of Peter, you have called me to carry that cross and to be blessed with that mission. And I know I can rely on each and every one of you to walk with me as we continue.
The Vatican announced Pope Leo will be formally installed as Pope during a Mass on May 18th. The 69-year-old Pope is Chicago-born Cardinal Robert Prevost. The announcement of his election brought cheers of joy and flag waving, especially among stunned Americans in St. Peter's Square. Leo called on Christians to renew their faith. He says a lack of faith is leading to the loss of human dignity around the world. The Vatican released the official document known as a Rogito, confirming the election of Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost as Pope Leo XIV. It was signed by 3 Vatican officials and states. The cardinal chose his own papal name. Meanwhile, as expected on newspaper headlines, the American Pope is on the front pages, as you can see here, on news outlets across the country. And we have team coverage of Leo's first full day as Pope. CBS News contributor John Allen is in Rome, and CBS News correspondent Lana Zak, she is in the Pope's hometown of Chicago. Let's start, though, with John Allen. John, good to see you today. The world seems surprised by the election of an American to lead the church. But should we be when we consider the changes in the church in recent years?
Hi there, Mughal. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but it is a blustery afternoon in Rome, which is symbolically apt because there is a new wind blowing in the Vatican and in the global Catholic Church under history's first American Pope, Pope Leo XIV. You ask, should we be surprised? You know, hindsight is always 20/20, and I think if we look back at this election, it is very clear he checked all of the boxes these 133 cardinals who elected him were looking for. They wanted a missionary, somebody who would reach out to people and inspire them and light the fires of the faith. They wanted a statesman, somebody who can engage the vital issues on the global stage, issues such as immigration and climate change and poverty. And they wanted a governor, somebody who can take the reins in his own hands, particularly here in the Vatican, including a very serious financial mess that he's going to have to clean up. And if you go through his profile, he ticks all of those boxes. He brings all of those qualities to the job. Now, that said, I'm going to admit to you, Mugo, that when his name was announced, when we heard that fateful habemus papam moment, I was flabbergasted because, like everyone else, I was brought up on the notion that there could never be an American Pope. And like so many bits of conventional wisdom, we now know that just ain't so.
Yeah, never say never. All right, so the new Pope's brother called him a second Pope Francis. Do you think Pope Leo will follow in the progressive footsteps of Pope Francis?
Oh, I think Pope Leo is very much committed to carrying forward Pope Francis's legacy, but I think in his own way. You know, Pope Francis was a maverick, and he was a little bit of a live wire. I think we're going to see Pope Leo is a little bit more reserved, a little bit more cautious, a little bit more thoughtful, perhaps. But in his own way, I think he's going to want to very much continue to press the issues that were at the core of Pope Francis's agenda, particularly when it comes to the social teaching of the Church. Remember, the choice of the name Leo is, in a sense, a whole program of governance in one word. It refers back to Pope Leo XIII in the late 19th century, who founded the modern tradition of Catholic social teaching, which has at its core the defense of the poor and the defense of the underdog. I think Francis wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. I think you're going to see Pope Leo pick up that megaphone and use it to great effect, Mugo.
And sticking with that same question, in line with that, from what you've heard so far from Pope Leo, from this new Pope, any indications of the kind of Pope that he will ultimately be?
Well, I think it is telling that you heard in that address he gave from the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica on Thursday night when he stepped out as the new pope. The fundamental call was to unity. Unity, first of all, in the Catholic Church, and then radiating out to all of humanity. I think by temperament, Robert Prevost, the man who is now Pope Leo XIV, is a bridge builder. He is a centrist. He is absolutely unideological. He is a pragmatist at heart. And I think when he sees divisions, he wants to heal them. When he sees conflicts, he wants to end them. And I think that's going to be his program from beginning to end. I will say that's the man I've known prior to his election as Pope, and that's very much what I expect to see from him going forward.
All right, John Allen in Rome for us. Thank you so much for joining us on 24/7 today. Appreciate it. Let's head now to Chicago and CBS News correspondent Lana Zak. Lana, good to see you. We know that there's been a celebration, a mass out there for the new pope. What has the reaction been like? I assume everyone is excited that he's from Chicago.
Chicago is bringing the love today in the Windy City. In addition to those newspaper headlines, here in Chicago, he's being referred to as the Pope. There's a lot of celebration, particularly among parishioners here at Holy Name Parish.
And we know that
Pope Leo XIV, as he begins his ministry as the successor to St. Peter, may God sustain and guide him as he spreads the good news of the risen Christ, which is peace and unity. We pray to the Lord.
And really, it was a beautiful scene as Holy Name Cathedral, now with the celebratory white and yellow ribbons now on top of the cathedral. The bells were pealing as people came out, and it was really, having been able to attend part of that service, very moving for the people who were there, Mugo.
And there are people there who remember growing up with the Pope, right? What are they saying?
Well, that's what's so interesting. His brother still lives here in the Chicago area. He was overwhelmed. Take a listen.
It was like, oh my God, it's Rob. It's never going to be the same. What are we going to do? Oh, yes, it's Rob. Yeah.
Well, that was his Florida brother. He had even more excitement, so I can understand why we wanted to play that. His Chicago brother was remembering times when, as kids, he would play priest. He's now Pope Leo, but when he was a kid, he would actually bring out his mother's ironing board and lead a service for the other kids. And we're even hearing from a neighbor who remembers what he was like as a little boy. Listen to this.
When we were little, besides riding bikes, these guys and the guys over there that lived in that house, okay, and we used to play mass. I'm serious, we used to play mass, okay, and you know how kids role play? All right, and there used to be, they still have them, little candies. They're like little wafers, but inside they're beads, and on the outside they're like little flying saucers. You know, they candy. We'd break them apart and we'd pretend, you know, play, and we'd use those as the hosts.
I love all those details. I remember that candy. I don't know if you ever tried those, Mugo. They're not the most delicious of candies, but all of those little touch points are really important to American Catholics because he feels like one of us. He is so accessible in that way. Even though he spent most of his ministry actually in Peru, became a naturalized citizen there, he is very much at his core a Chicago boy, a White Sox fan, with people here who remember and appreciate him.
Yeah, Lana, definitely the White Sox fan part got me because I'm also a White Sox fan. So, yay, go Pope. Lana Zak, thank you so much for joining us on 24/7. We appreciate it.